The royal house in shock. What lies behind Princess Madeleine's unexpected return to Sweden? The return to Sweden of Princess Madeleine and her family, who have been living in Miami for the past 7 years to escape from institutional duties, is disrupting the country's tranquility. Madeleine, sister of I's Victoria, and her husband Chris WIIL decided to move to the US so they and their children could live away from the royal family, but after postponing their return to Sweden several times, this time it seems final, and there are many doubts about how the institutional responsibilities of the princess and her American husband, who never wanted to be either a prince or a swed, will be framed in this regard. Important developments are looming that affect the reorganization of the ceremonial duties of crown members, and in particular the marriage between Princess Madeleine and her husband, a financier by profession. On June 8, 2013, Madeleine of Sweden and Chris WIIL were married in a beautiful ceremony held in the chapel of the Royal Palace in Stockholm. The youngest of King Carl Gustaf and Queen Sylvia's 3 children met the American financier in New York, where she moved after a scandalous breakup with Swedish lawyer Jonas Bergström, whom she dated for 8 years. The couple, who have 3 children, Leonor, Nicholas and Adrian, were used to life in the US, where Neil continued to work as a financier, giving up the titles he was entitled to by virtue of his marriage to the princess, and they both decided they wanted to settle far away from Sweden and the responsibilities of her family. They agreed that they wanted their children to grow up in an atmosphere of normality and freedom, far removed from what they thought they would experience by remaining in Sweden. But their recent return to Princess Madeleine's homeland, where they moved from Miami, the city that has been their home for the past few years, is a huge change. Of course, how will the couple and their children behave from now on? Will they be required to attend official royal family events? And will they be able to continue to live with a degree of independence from the royal family? All that is known so far is that I's sister, having not been an active member of the royal family since she moved to the United States, will not assume an institutional role when she returns to Stockholm. Neither will her husband. The royal house confirmed that Magdalena will remain vice president of the Children's Foundation, one of the most important initiatives of her mother Queen Sylvia, in which they have both been fundamentally involved for many years, and also made it clear that she will not participate in official events other than those exclusively related to the family. It should not be forgotten that King Carl Gustaf of Sweden himself has decided that his grandchildren, with the exception of Estelle and Oscar, children of I's Victoria, will not receive titles or the address Your Majesty. Thus, no honors or privileges are bestowed upon the offspring of Prince Charles, Felipe and Sophie, Alexander, Gabriel, Julian, or his sister Magdalena, who is married to Chris WIIL. An American financier will live in Sweden under a Swedish citizenship that has sparked controversy. It is unclear at this time whether WIIL will be able to freely practice his profession, or if he will be required to do some type of representative work despite his lack of title or active role in the royal family. WIIL is a US citizen, but he also has British and German citizenship by birthright. The royal court has already confirmed that Princess Madeleine's husband will live in Sweden as a German citizen, not as a Swede, contrary to the financier's wishes. The return of Princess Madeleine and her family to Sweden raises many questions and discussions among both fans of the royal family and experts on the monarchy. One of the key aspects that has generated the most attention is how responsibilities and roles within the royal family will be distributed in light of this return. In recent years, the Swedish royal family, like many other European monarchies, has sought to modernize and reduce the number of active family members involved in official events. This decision was made in an attempt to reduce the cost of maintaining the royal family and make the monarchy more modern and in line with the demands of the times. In light of this, the return of Princess Madeleine and her family should not significantly alter the current structure of responsibilities. However, even though Princess Madeleine and Chris WIIL will not be actively participating in official events, their presence in Sweden could still have an impact on the dynamics within the royal family. Perhaps they will take part in some family events and ceremonies which will certainly attract public and media attention. As for Chris WIIL, his status as a German citizen and renunciation of Swedish citizenship means that he will be able to retain a degree of independence. However, it may also mean that he will face some restrictions in his professional life. Whether he will be able to continue working as a financier in Sweden remains an open question. It may well be that he will have to compromise between his professional responsibilities and the demands of his status as the princess's spouse. For Princess Madeleine and Chris WI's children, returning to Sweden will also be a significant change. Although they have no titles and will have no official duties, their lives will inevitably be linked to the royal family. It is important to note that King Carl Gustaf's decision not to grant titles to his grandchildren, with the exception of the children of Iris Victoria, was intended to allow them to lead more normal and independent lives. However, how this will be put into practice only time will tell. Overall, the return of Princess Madeleine and her family to Sweden represents an interesting turn in the history of the royal family. On the one hand, it is a return to roots and family values. On the other hand, it is a challenge in terms of adapting to the new conditions and requirements of modern society. How events will unfold and how the family will cope with that, the new realities will become clear in the coming months and years.